Hi everyone! Today I've got a really easy card painting tutorial for you using leaves and flowers in a lovely floral border. So grab your paints and let's get started. Today's card is going to be a tent fold card, which basically means it folds like that and we have a design on the front. The piece of paper I'm using today is 6 inches by 9 inches and I've just done a score to get a nice neat fold there halfway up, so 4.5 inches. I'm going to do a border of foliage and flowers coming in, which of course will be quite easy to do on the edges, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bit of washi tape across the top, just so that seals the edge and means that it won't bleed over my back of my card. So that's nicely done. I'm just going to press my finger down, make sure that's really nice and clean. I'm also going to be using a pen a little bit later, so I'll pop that to one side, bring my paints down into shot, and let's get started. So we're going to paint in foliage and flowers, and the kind of flower I'm going to paint is a really simple petal flower, very similar to the hollyhock that I painted a few tutorials ago. You can find that one in the flowers and foliage playlist, along with so many other flower tutorials and general plant life tutorials. So I'm just mixing up a few sort of different tones, so I've got a nice choice, and then I'm going to also mix up a little bit of French ultramarine blue and Alizarin Crimson as a nice little contrasting colour, and a little bit of cadmium red actually just knocks it back and makes it not too purpley. Okay, so when I'm painting floral and foliage borders, I think it's quite important to begin putting in your flowers first. So I'm just going to dot some lovely sort of delicate little simple flowers. So all I'm doing is doing brush strokes around a sort of invisible centre. So I'll do that again, so just using the belly of the brush to sort of squish down, got a little bit of hair on my brush there, squish down into a sort of invisible centre of an unpainted space there, and just do them on varying sizes scattered about on the page. And once I've done a few, those first ones will have just seeped in and dried a tiny bit, so I can place in a little dab of that dark colour just to give a fun contrast. So I might sort of paint them in a few clusters, but my plan is that these flowers and foliage will sort of almost like rainbow around and sort of peter out to the sides. So do have a little think about where you want your flowers to sit, and I'm doing them in a nice sort of fairly delicate dilute manner, so that they're not sort of competing and fighting with the leaves. So this is my first one where I'm sort of painting up into the top, and that really helpful bit of masking tape, or washi tape, is just preventing any bleeds going onto the back of the card. So I'm just swapping out for my 2/10 brush each time I want to paint in a little bit of darkness. So that one, maybe I left it a little too soon. Don't want quite so much of a fearsome travelling of my colour, but then at the same time, that's the joy of watercolour, isn't it? It does what it wants. So I'm just going to fill in this sort of rainbow shape with flowers, and then we'll start getting our foliage in. What I really love about doing a little mix like this is that every time I put my brush into that palette, I get a slightly different coloured flower. But the beauty of it is I know that they'll all work really well together because they've all come from the same two colours. So that's kind of cool, as opposed to just choosing one pink colour and just going for it. And of course also, the more dilute your colour is compared to that one, that also gives you a range of colours as well. I might just pop one more down here. So we're keeping that little bit of unpainted space in the middle for now. Oh, I didn't remember to even paint the centre into that one right at the beginning. Okay. Now we've got our flowers in, we need to pop in some foliage. So I'm going to mix up some Sap Green. And I've also got my green gold. I like to just get the two of them in the palette. Yet again, a little bit like my approach with the permanent rose and the cadmium orange, or sort of the orangey colours, is just to have the two sat in the palette, just blending a little bit side by side, but then means I can just pick from where I want with these colours. Okay, so we want to have our flowers dry before we paint in the foliage. So what I'll do is I'll start up here, and I've got a size 2/10 brush. I've also got my 4/10 brush just in case I feel like the 2/10 isn't doing a fine enough job, but it's cool that you can just sort of see as you go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in from the edge and just weave in behind some of my flowers. I'm not going to be worrying about sort of what branch attaches where and to who, but I do want to have a sort of general interaction between the flowers and the foliage. So we'll have a few little leaves just growing out the side, but you can just start to weave your vines in and around the card. I think personally I like having a really, really fine brush to begin the branches, and then something a little bit bigger to get the leaves going. So I'll paint in a few branches like that, and then start to squish that brush down. And if you find that you've got sort of leaves looking more one colour than the other, you can always drop in a bit of the darker green to the lighter ones and vice versa. And then you might want a few teeny weeny little sort of almost like budding leaves that you can just use with your smaller brush. And I'm going to start to sort of create the sort of edge of where the leaves are going to get to and then finish. So always have one mind on that when you're starting to bring your leaves in from the edge. As you're making your way around the card, it's really important to just keep looking at the piece as a whole and making sure that you've got a good balance with where the vines and the leaves are going. Also think about the little bits of sort of empty space up here, and how it's the more leaves you sort of put in up there, the more of a sort of solid line you're going to get. I have noticed that it's not so much the paint sort of going under the masking tape, but where I scored a line to get a nice fold, that is eating up a little bit of paint, but I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. And keep on sort of mixing up the direction of where your stems are coming in from the edges. So they're not all going in the same direction. And it's all about curves, I find, with successful kind of natural looking vines and branches. Our card is all painted now, and I think it would just be a really nice touch to get a little bit of leaf detail on some of those leaves. So I've just added French Ultramarine into the green mix there. 4/10 brush, and I'm just going to go through and pick out some little lines on the leaves, and also it can help to just neaten up some of the shapes. This little blue tone I find works so beautifully when you've got pink flowers, blush flowers, but especially when they've got a hint of that deep dark purple in them. It just works. It's colour theory really. So here we go round with some little green lines, and then we will just add in a little message on the front of the card to finish. And once you've done your painting, we can peel off the washi tape very carefully, and there we go. That's come out really nicely. Fold down the card, and I'm just going to write a nice little handwritten and there we have a really simple card design. I really hope that you've got someone you can send this card to and really make their day. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that one. I want to say a massive thank you to my patrons for their support, because that support enables us to keep creating videos that everyone can enjoy. And if you enjoyed that one, then hit the like button and comment below to let me know how you're getting on. And of course, if you subscribe, then you'll never miss another video. Until next time, bye!